Okay, you're recording.
Very good. Hello, everyone. Hi, Chief. Hi, Shelley. Hi, Denise. Okay, Denise, you gotta unmute yourself, please. While we wait for Denise. Hello, David.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good, you?
Hi, Kyle. Good, thank you. How come we can see your son and he won't hook you up? What's up with that?
His has a monitor and no camera in it.
Yeah? I think that I could talk his partner into an expenditure of a laptop that might meet his needs. I'm just joking with you. Let's see, we got Tracy on. Joe is here. I know that Denise is there somewhere, but I haven't heard from her.
Hello, Stephen.
Hello, Denise. Thank you for joining. We have a quorum with 3 selectmen. Shelley, David, and I. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is gone. There it is. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. One moment of silence for men and women in uniform and those fighting COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you. I'll call the meeting to order at 6:01. We don't have any adjustments to the agenda, do we, Joe?
No adjustments.
Okay, very good. Kyle, welcome back. I'm glad you're able to make it tonight. We're going to start off tonight with fire rescue. Chief Bacon is on with us. We'll be looking forward to your presentation, Chief Bacon, on fire rescue. You're going to share it with Joe in the airport and health officer and so on. Please go ahead, sir.
10-4. Thank you, sir. We're going to start with the public safety building. Can everybody hear me okay? This is first time on this computer.
Turn it up a little bit for me.
I don't know if I can turn it up
All
anymore.
right, I'll turn it up here. We're good.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, we're going to start with the public safety building. I'm sorry, what was the question?
Can you just tell us what page you're on?
I'm on page 20.
Thank you.
Now, would you like me to go line by line?
No, could you, I apologize. Let me give you the format. We have the numbers in front of us. If you could you highlight the changes that you have to your budget and items that would need explanation?
Copy that. So the public safety building starting on page 20, there's going to be no real changes. I do have a correction under 25-4, the line entitled equipment. That should read 12,000, not 12,600. I'm not sure where that came from. Overall, the public safety building is going to be down 3,586 this year. It's been working good with this budget over the past 3 to 4 years. There's no need to change anything.
Thank you. Any questions for the public safety building? Shelley?
So the correct amount for the repair and maintenance is 12,000. Are you adjusting and removing like the 600 for equipment?
We're removing the 600. That's not supposed to be there. Somehow the 2019 total was brought over.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll continue to page 26. This is a new position. I think it may be going to a warrant item. I'm not sure what the selectmen have agreed on. This is the health officer position. As all of you know, we lost, I'm drawing a blank on her name over COVID.
It was Sharon Oldham, Dr. Oldham.
So we lost Dr. Oldham over COVID. She resigned, and we picked up Lindsay Savage. But due to the increase in basically workload, we gave her a $50 a week stipend. That comes out to about $2,600 a year. Because of COVID and not having the position created, we wrapped it into the fire department. So it's coming out of fire department budget right now. With the stipend, we've included traveling and training costs totaling $500 just so she can take a few. Go
Hold
ahead.
on. What page are you on?
26.
It's actually 44.
Thank
Oh,
you.
why are mine different?
I just printed out just your stuff.
Okay.
Oh,
thank
okay.
you.
So is it not going to match?
Okay,
No,
so
so it's fine. I'll tell them what it is. It's 44.
Okay.
we're good. We'll get it figured out. We're on page 44. We all know about, except for Kyle and Denise, about probably Lindsay. Go ahead.
Okay, so $500 for training and travel expenses and $500 for her cell phone comes to $3,800 for the year. I think that's money well spent, but we can put that out to a vote and to the town.
Yeah. Question on the public health officer. All right, for Denise and David and Tracy and whoever Galaxy something is, please make sure you voice your question because I can't see you.
Galaxy S10 is Ethna.
Oh, okay, thank you. Hi, Ethna, welcome.
Hi.
Galaxy S10, thank you. Again, welcome, Ethna. I hope you can hear us.
I can, yes.
Okay, wonderful. Any questions from anyone on the health officer? Okay, next.
Okay, now we move on to the public safety fire rescue budget, my page 28.
Yep, same with us.
Okay, perfect. The we're gonna go line by line of what's changed. Line 0103, part-time wages, we have reduced to 38,000. With the addition of a new firefighter, we're calling out the rest of the department less and less. So during the day, two of us handle a lot of calls, so we expect that to go down about $5,000. Line 0108. This is the per diem line. We added 1,000 on, 2,000 for the year. We're now realizing that with all the testing, it'd be nice to have an extra hand when we do our hose testing, ladder testing. We only increased it 1,000. And jumping all the way down to utilities, line 20-01. We've seen a 3-year trending increase in utility costs. So we've upped that to $4,200 to come more in line to what we're actually paying on a yearly basis. Line 2502, computers. That computer line has been eliminated and computers have gone under the town office. Let's see, what else do we have? Dispatch costs, lines 35-10. We have found that over the past, I believe, 5 to 6 years, fire had been paying for all the tower costs for our repeater. That's now been split with Rangeley Police, and we have now lowered that in our budget to $1,000. So it's taken $1,000 off of that. So in the long run, the fire budget's going to be down $39,429 overall. Are there any questions? I will add, if everybody can hear me, some of the things that we do on a normal year, equipment that we purchase, gear, We may not actually spend it all this year because of basically fallout from COVID. We're having a hard time getting some of the gear we need because of production. So we may be putting more money back into reserves at the end of this year.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions from anyone? Nope.
Okay, my next line is page 43 for me. It's public safety fire hydrants.
You know, I know there's nothing you can do about this, but
Correct, that was going to be my statement.
every time I read this line, I choke. I'm sorry. I just, that's all I'm gonna say.
I will say that I did talk to the water district briefly, thinking that we could reduce this cost because I thought it was increased over the Allen Street project. But this looks like it's going to be the current cost going forward.
Any questions on hydrants? Thank you.
Okay, page 63 is Public Works Airport. No changes to the budget.
Nice job at the airport, by the way, and thank you for your service as the airport manager interim for the last
Yes.
year. We appreciate it. I know it was not your bailiwick.
Not something I would like to do again. But I can run a budget line. That's what I'm good at. But thank you.
Thank you for your service. Any questions on the airport? Okay. Anything else for the chief? Joe?
I'm sorry. Question.
Oh, Shelley?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hit my mute fast enough. On the airport, now, do we bill out when Public Works is used for the airport, like when they're plowing and stuff like that?
No,
No.
nope.
Now, is it that true that the funds that we receive from the FAA help contribute to the maintenance of the airport?
Yes.
Yes.
So why wouldn't we bill for that?
Well, I might be able to answer this. It's going to be a little rough. For example, FAA funds will only cover certain categories. For example, like maintenance equipment. Some of the equipment we had maintenanced, the snow removal equipment. We had to buy new tires and install it. Came to almost $20,000. The FAA covered that under a grant. But to the best of my knowledge, I don't believe it will cover any type of personnel at this time.
No, I mean, like, so basically for plowing the runway and doing that stuff, do we?
If I can,
I think we
They
have a
don't-
responsibility to keep it open.
yeah, they don't reimburse for operations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions regarding the airport? Very well run, by the way. I just got finished telling the town manager how pleased everybody is that utilizes that airport. Next up is the highway. Thank you, chief.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Keith.
All right, so my presentation will start with highway, as Steve noted, page 45. Highway budget is overall, it has increased in the budget by about 12 grand, and I will walk you through the reasonings behind that.
Ready.
So on the first change that we have under page 46, 1510 is uniforms. We did increase by $600 on that line, part of which is we are under a new contract with Cintas. And obviously with the anticipation of filling that mechanic's position, we'll have to outfit that individual. From there, our next change, we have a decrease in the culverts line, which is 1515 on page 47. We currently have a pretty good surplus of culverts on hand. And obviously a lot of the major projects, those items have been included in those projects. So kind of helps us with our routine maintenance needs inventory. Next item, we go to on page 47 also on streetlights, excuse me, item 2004. Town manager and I have decided, along with Earl, have decided to reduce that by $3,500. There potentially could be room there later in the next budget to reduce that further with the LED conversion. Once we get a full plan on fitment for additional poles and etc. Next item down, 2005 heating and fuel. We did increase that to $7,500. That's based on historical figures and anticipation of the climbing fuel charges now. $100 increase in 2006, which is water on page 48. Again, that's just based on historical figures. Propane and sewer both, so lines 2007 and 2010 we dropped. Propane is still being hard to track for that facility where it's a newer item with that generator, and historically town doesn't lose power very often, so the generator normally runs on scheduled test runs. Okay, we can then go on to, I do want to make a note, page 49, item 2523, crack sealant. It shows that it hasn't been used the last couple of years. I do want to notate that item is scheduled to be expended this spring, along with the airport's crack sealing line. We've added line 3529, which is a service plan. This is for the John Deere loader and a service plan that was we had in the budget prior to last year or upon purchase of that loader. This is for a 3-year term. Every 1,000 hours, Nortrax will come down and do a full service on the tractor. We're still responsible for the 500, but they'll do every 1,000 and they'll upgrade software and every other major component that works at those hour ratios. And so that 12.5 is the predominant difference in this year's budget for the highway department.
Questions? Okay, thank you. Next. Sewer.
Yep. Okay, on to sewer. One moment.
Page 50.
Yes. Right, so this budget has an overall decrease of $5,901. We have reduced, sorry. Actually, I'll go first. Page 52 on minor equipment, there is a increase on that line of $2,500 under minor equipment. That is primarily for the split of the large format printer with the code enforcement officer, so that we can printer scanner, so that we can now request project plans from M&H or anyone from past projects and get them digital or scan our current ones and make them digital also. From there, I reduced lab supplies by $100 under 1516. Now, moving on to page 53. No changes on page 53. No changes on, well, slight change on the maintenance line of 2519 on page 54 for the sewage treatment plant. I just felt, number historically is up and down, and I don't feel that that number was needed prior. And last page on page 55, again, the large difference in this budget is we have officially paid off the 2017 Ford F-250. So you no longer have to worry about that item. So that's the biggest reduction. That's the reason for the reduction in the budget.
Questions? Okay,
All right, on to solid waste. This budget has an overall increase. And I will ask you to flip back to the page 61. Nothing else changes significantly to that point. 61 and 62 are our changes in this budget, of which there is a $11,420 increase to tipping fees on item 5001. 5002 transportation, there is a $4,995 increase. And if you go to page 62, items 5005.
you back up, please, and fill me in on the 11,000. Where's that?
That's on 5001 tipping fees.
Okay.
And that
Yep.
that number is obviously with current market. And then obviously part of that is volume that we've increased through this pandemic, where we have more full-time individuals here. In anticipation of that, with the market the way it's been going. So that's where that figure comes from. Again, next item down, 5002 transportation is the same, just about $5,000 increase, and that's due to, again, increased volume in operation. As we flip to page 62, items 5001, defreonization of the ACs and refrigerators, that's up $1,300. That unit removal cost went up a little bit, on top of we've again had increase in old appliances. And then last but not least in this budget, another increase of $1,200 under fluorescent tubes under 5008. That cost has gone up for disposal of.
Questions on solid waste? Clarifications, anything? Okay. Parks and Rec.
Yes, sir. I am flipping to that page.
Page 66.
Okay, thank you. This budget overall has a decrease of roughly $600. With that, nothing significant. This budget, unfortunately, has a huge representation where this COVID pandemic has influenced our ability to utilize funds. As Mike had mentioned, a lot of our programs were unable to be ran. So minuscule decrease in this budget.
So you're going to have a lot of carry forwards in this, correct?
I am definitely hopeful in that. What I want to do is we are currently working on a lot of home activities through like the STEM programs that we can try to purchase through Kiwi Box and stuff like that. We also want to carry money forward for anticipations of a new storage container to put more rec supplies in and get it out of our concession stand and a few other items. So I definitely have once I have plans for some kind of event or festivities once if I'm allowed.
Just a comment relative to the storage container and your acquisition of that. I encourage you not to buy new. There's a glut of them in the used market
Correct.
for as little to no money. So
Absolutely. I'm hopeful I can find a couple at that point. Yes. Thank you.
any questions on Park and Rec? Kelly, did you have your hand up? No? Okay.
Cemeteries.
All right.
All right, cemeteries does have an increase. I will tell you right now that increase, we put an additional $15,000 into that line, or that budget, excuse me. That is going to be on page 72, items 25 for infrastructure. What that does is that allows us to allows us to continue on with that clearing, and through Public Works can remove stumps from the facility, bring to the transfer station, and we can get Kuznos up here when they grind our debris pile. They will grind the stumps for $600 an hour. And then a part of that too is part of that budget also will be a replanting of a buffer tree system between the cemetery and Moose Alley.
Maybe Denise can answer this. Denise, are you still on the cemetery committee?
Yes.
Is there plans to put the fence back up?
We haven't had a meeting for a while, so I can't answer that.
Okay. Just let me share with you then, there have been, I wouldn't say a lot of people, but some very concerned comments that we should put that back up. That has come to me on a number of occasions. So when you do have a meeting, you could share that with them in case there's a notion to waylay that idea. Did you have your hand up, Shelley?
No, my cat's just playing with my computer.
I feel like I'm at a Zoom meeting with Minnie Pearl. We got a cat going across the screen. We got a
Did you see him?
pretty kitty. Okay, thank you, Denise. Any other questions
Yep.
on cemetery? Okay, next.
Next would be the Public Works Director budget on page 73. And that has a overall $3,100 increase. I would say of which $2,000 out is, or $1,500, which is roughly a 2% raise. From their training costs were reduced on items 1002. And from there, I didn't review this budget, I apologize. We did remove the gas line on this item out of this budget, items 1528, that budget, that truck, Public Works Director truck, what was labeled as, I label it as a community truck for the town office, whether it's the town manager, code enforcement, as needed vehicle for those individuals to do inspections and check on projects. So if I am correct, we move that budget to the town office, correct?
That is correct, Q.
Thank you.
Do you have any highlights for that, Joe, under Public Works? You all set there?
Yeah, I think Keith covered it pretty well. The one thing I do want to interject for the folks that may not have been at the last budget meeting, when I met with staff, I plugged in, this is a management directive, I plugged in 2% for increases. That's a little bit above COLA, which I think is 1.3-ish. And I did that to kind of have a level playing field. The other thing that I mentioned in the last meeting, which I will mention again, is I would like the select board to consider setting aside a certain amount of money for me to use for performance increases or merit increases, so that based on performance evaluations, when we get those wrapped up, I can make adjustments as needed. So that hasn't been reflected yet. We haven't talked about any dollar amounts, but just for the folks that weren't with us last time, I wanted to kind of point that out.
Thank you. Questions for either Keith or Joe regarding anything we've seen so far? Next up, comfort stations.
All right, so comfort stations, first one, Rangeley Comfort Station starts on page 75. There is just an overall decrease in that budget of about $100. So pretty much the same budget there. And then on to Quasic Comfort Station, starting on page 77. Again, that budget overall has a slight decrease of $200.
Questions on comfort stations? Next.
So
Culture,
next,
Joe.
yep, next we'll talk about culture. Thank you, Steve. The big increase in this item is in line 60-02 decorations. It's got a $10,000 amount there. Keith is working with Don from the Economic Opportunity Committee. We would like to overhaul the banners that are posted on the poles downtown in Rangeley and Aquasic. And the design, if you haven't heard by now, would be the ones that have kind of two poles, they're horizontal. So Keith is working with Don on that, and they're actually making a presentation Monday morning to the Economic Opportunity Committee. And based on past intelligence, we know that 10,000 is probably a realistic number to buy the hardware and 2 or 3 different variations of new banners. So that's really the big change in this culture budget, Steve.
Any questions on culture? So we're carrying forward the fireworks money from last year because they did not get utilized, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, hello?
David, go ahead.
What about the Veterans Monument? I know some veterans wanna get the name on there and haven't had any luck in the last few years. I don't know. I guess it's kind of in disarray or something.
You want to respond to that, Keith?
I will do my best, absolutely. I will be honest with you, through, I'm guilty of this as a veteran myself, but through transition of the town clerk, Tricia was the go-getter on this. I have been researching a little bit with our former VFW members, or I'll say VFW, but like Tricia Quinn and those individuals. I do know part of that requirement for our monument is obviously, I'm sure you all know this, but they have to be a graduate from here and have been deceased to be put on the wall, is my understanding.
No, I don't think that's right. Any veteran, right?
That's what I was told at the time, but again, I probably am wrong. I hope I am. I like to honor all those individuals that need to be on that wall. I will do my best to the next meeting to get an answer for everybody.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong on that, and I think Shelley concurs. You guys are, yeah.
Yes, because my father can't be on the one here in Rangeley. He can be the one in Eustis Stratton,
Okay.
because he
thank-
graduated from Stratton.
Right. Anything else under culture? Okay, well, let's move on.
Okay, next item is general assistance. That's on page 80. General assistance is a program that the town is required to provide based on state statute. And we are reimbursed for roughly 3/4 of this when we do have general assistance cases. $2,000 is a reasonable amount to raise, and that is the amount that's presented to you this year. So there's no change in that. amount, no change in the account.
Questions? Thank you. Donations.
Donations is on page 83. Let's see.
Before you
I'm
go
looking-
to 83, make sure everybody takes a look at page 81.
Okay, the county tax.
Yeah, you see how much you're spending. We don't actually have our bill yet, correct, Rebecca? Yeah, we don't have our bill yet, but you can see what we're spending last year. It'll be that and then some. If I could just take a moment of all of your time and suggest that you get a hold of Clyde Barker and maybe even go to Augusta when this comes up, because we have no representation when it comes to the short of Clyde. Anyways, next up. Thank you, Joe. Sorry.
No, good point. And just full disclosure, page 82 is the education budget, but I don't believe we have that information yet, which is why we haven't put it on your agenda tonight. 83 is donations. You can see the list there on page 83 on the left-hand side of the folks that have historically presented us with requests. The actual requests are at the end of the book. I do not intend to go through them one by one unless that's your pleasure. But on page 84, if you look at the ending amounts, 2021, 200,762 was the budget, and then the proposal this year is 216,842 for an overall increase of just over 8%. And again, that information, the cover sheets are in the back of the binder. The more detailed documents are available on the town's website. Is that correct, Rebecca?
That is correct. Yep.
Anything else on donations, anyone? Okay, thank you. Capital, look where we are, Joe.
We made it.
We made it, brother.
Do you want to go? You want to start it?
Go.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so the first one, we're going to start with Parks and Rec, because that's the first one in the book. Keith, do you have yours ready with you?
All I have is one page for capital for capital purchases. Does that make that sense? 85?
Page 85, correct.
Yeah, what? Right. Hang on. Let me get to that page. Sorry about that. Got ahead of myself.
Okay, so under Parks and Rec infrastructure on that one, there's a overall request for that and capital purchase for $10,000, $5,000 of which is to remove the old PD building at the Public Works facility. That building has been notated under the John Waterbury, help me out here, Joe.
The risk management folks, MMA risk management. Yep.
Risk management, that building needs a significant amount of repair, be it windows, reshingled roof. And at the end of the day, the structure's just not useful to what our needs are. So I'd like to demolish that building after testing for asbestos and et cetera, and then have the added room down there, which would go in turn with that container or two that I wanted to get for Parks and Rec, which would be much better use for that equipment. Other than that, additional $5,000, as I would like to extend the Park Street boat, the main boat dock. I'd like to go an additional 2 sections out and have an additional finger put on that for additional parking of boats and if the money allows, I'd like to put solar lights, pocket lights that fit into that dock specifically also.
Thank you for that. So I'm on page 85 now. We'll go back up to the top there. Sorry, I got ahead of myself earlier. But so road projects, this is something that's going to play a big part in the overall picture of the budget this year. The payment for this bond is 282,478. This is the first time we're going to make that payment, so that's something that's over and above all of the other operations we've talked about so far. So that's an increase overall. When you get to 4002, and the chief of police is not here tonight because I wasn't sure if we would get to capital, but he is asking for 2 tasers. And Keith is in conversations with Keith and his folks. We are presenting a proposal to you for a mini excavator for the highway group, $10,000 broom attachment, and an updated goose machine. That's a total of 110,600.
Can I follow through with the comment on 4002?
Go
Sure.
ahead.
All right, just to go off, segue off Joe. So that mini excavator is a used item. The one that we have a estimate or a quote on is again used from Eagle Rental. It would come with a oh my God, I'm sorry, additional rubber tracks, 110 unit, a little bit not small but a little bit larger. Come with a brush head so that we could mow back the extended beyond our limit of the sidewalk machine currently. So it has some added value to us upcoming projects if it's passed. Secondly, real quick, it's the $10,000 broom attachment, I believe, is a split with the airport, if I'm correct, for the runway and well, use for the runway and town. Open broom, angled concept so that we could do roads and the runway with light snow. And then last but not least, the gooser. We did approve this, or we allotted money to this budget last year or the year before. In my findings, I'm having difficulty ordering the one I wanted. So when I had money for, excuse me, this money would allow us to get the next model up. A self-contained unit would dump into the 550 and is more versatile in regards to the park, and then we could use it also as a curb brush for the side of the roads.
Thank you, Keith. Shelley?
Okay, so my point of contention, the gooser. So Keith, we were talking last year of other solutions other than buying the gooser to get rid of the geese.
Correct. So I will go off on that real quick. I will get the notes out. I did meet with our local representative at a strong, the biologist, and then with a federal biologist for this conversation. We are allowed, with permissions, to look at euthanization or lethal means to get rid of geese. Obviously, the local biologist suggests that we attempt more environmental opportunities, planting more shrubberies, blocking off the beach, using a dog to chase the geese but not touch the geese, and on for other methods. The federal guys don't have as much disagreement with the ability to go lethal, and that would be the idea of primary attempt first would be to rotate nest and either spray the nest with oil or remove the eggs in general. What we were warned about, so everybody knows, is it's a point of contention publicly, not necessarily local, but nationally, because people find out relatively quick what you're doing. And it just could be a black eye to our community. Not that this isn't already, but it could be negative publicity for us as a community if we decide to go that route.
Shelley, anything else?
I think the people that actually own property on the lake, I think that they would be all for it. Because getting rid of them, because I mean, they just keep coming back and coming back, coming back. There's more and more. The property values that people pay a lot of money for and pay in taxes to have waterfront property, and having to deal with that is awful. We've got a beautiful park and it's awful. Anyways,
So my final note on that, what I will say is, we can only control what we can control at that point, obviously. So if we have to be careful on how, public, private, I guess, on how they pursue that goal of reducing the numbers. So we'd have to have some kind of agreement with everybody else that wanted to pursue that, I would think.
Thank you. Anybody else? Goose poop always generates an awful lot of concern.
I think that'd be a top priority to address that somehow, how we gotta do it. Shrubbery, shoot them or something. Instead of letting it just keep going on and on and on, I don't know.
I will tell you, the number one answer they gave me was to eliminate green space.
I think a ton of shrubbery, get a landscape, somebody figured out how to landscape that, right? That don't give them a place to sit or they can't take off, I'm thinking. I don't know, it's a lot more maintenance. I mean, a ton of maintenance on whoever taking care of the park, but I don't know.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I agree. Of course, I've given this a lot of thought in my lifetime also, but there are kind of two things. There's prevention, and then there's actually taking care of it when it happens. It's similar to fire, I would think, and we want to try to prevent it, but we also have to keep in our minds that it's going to happen, and being a resort community, a tourist community, we need to make sure we've got what we need to pick it up. And that is a daily occurrence, almost daily, so we've got to have the equipment we need while we try to figure out, how we're going to try and engineer it out.
why isn't it a health concern?
It is a
I
health-
mean,
It would be if we let it pile up, there's no question.
no, I'm talking about in the water itself.
it is.
I mean, we've done everything we can with the park and how the park was designed to make sure that they wouldn't come on the beach, and they still came on the beach. We put down the chips. They said, oh, they won't step on the chips. Well, they do step on the chips. So I just think that we need to come up with a plan, and maybe it needs to be done at night. I don't know.
So I will tell you, Shelley, that in my conversation, we're very fortunate that Rangeley is very well documented in our attempts we've made, our actions we've taken already in trying to reduce or negatively influence those geese invitation to the park. So we have that going for us. We all means have the right to move forward with a different method. I just have to have permissions to do so, I guess, and have, understanding of what people's feelings are going to be. We can pursue that if the betterment of the community wants to, or the board.
Listen, it's not going to be decided by us, folks. It's going to be decided by the voters. So the question we have is, are we going to put this in front of the voters? So that's something we're going to talk about as we move into our next phase. Any more questions for Keith or Joe regarding goose poop or capital purchases? I have a question for you then. Keith, this will be for you. What's the game plan for the town dock off Lake Street?
All right, so with that said, I know I've talked about this briefly. I've met with Joe a couple of times. I do have some preliminary options. One of which is to, I'm still waiting for one number. It's my own fault. I'm waiting for a rehab number from BMC Diving. I do have one estimate from them for complete overhaul of that dock, which is about $68,000. Obviously, we have other secondary options, or third options would be looking at a pier system. We could look at a complete, essentially a complete removable system, much like the Park Street dock. I have seen them in the military with Humvees on them, but you could go with a complete float system if you wanted to. So we have options. I don't have price on all. I'm still waiting for the secondary prices for the float system and the rehab number. but replacement right now for what's there is roughly $68,000. And that dock is, it's not in not in great shape.
No, and it's not reflected in this budget.
Not current, no, I would say it's not.
All right, so my point with that is, numbers should be in front of us if you intend to get it done in this go around.
Certainly.
Otherwise, we're into 2022.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Joe, any other comments?
Hey, Joe, where does the dump truck fit into this?
So, good question. Well, it fits into the capital plan. We've got a capital plan for each one of these groups, as everybody knows. One of the things that's up this year is the highway department, one of the highway department plow trucks. There is enough money in that reserve to handle that. So I don't believe we need to raise and appropriate any money. So we're not looking at raising anything for that right now.
So in capital reserve, we're good? No changes? Everything looks good?
I believe so.
Any questions for capital reserve?
So you're thinking about buying a new plow truck?
Yes.
You'll be bidding that out?
Yeah, I'm working on finishing the RFP right now. Or this week I have been, excuse me.
Thank you, David.
Also, Stephen, one other thing, I'm looking at the reserve balances now. In the town park reserve, I had it just a second ago, has $98,000 in it. And I believe when Keith and I were talking about docks, we thought that there would be possibly enough money there for working on the town dock. Is that correct, Keith? Didn't we talk about that?
Yes, so you are correct. If indeed, my feelings there are, talking with Joe, if indeed this budget does pass, especially with a request into the reserve, we did feel that we'd have this substantial amount of money, one, to pursue the playground equipment that has been in the works for a number of years, and then secondly, that the town dock.
Well, that's nice. We don't have to increase taxation to get the town dock done. That'd be helpful.
That is our goal. That's my goal in my departments, at least, was to utilize as much as not to drain reserves by any means, but to utilize those reserves if it seems suitable and fit within a rough percentage that we felt comfortable leaving that balance.
Very good. Thank you. Shelley, was that you moving your hand? You all set? Okay. Anybody else?
We have
Rebecca.
we have one fire item.
One second, Chief. Rebecca?
I was just gonna say there's a fire item.
All right. There you go, Chief. She was giving you a perfect segue.
All right. Last year with the onset of COVID, we were asked to table the replacement of engine 3. This year, I put in front of the select board permission to go for the AFG grant. That grant has been submitted. It's going to be backed by Senator Collins. I still have yet to reach out to Representative Black to get him on board with supporting that grant. We probably should have a breakout session at some point and sit down and discuss options. A new apparatus, which we put in for the grant, is $720,329. The town of Rangeley would only be responsible for about $34,000. And actually, once you play with the numbers a bit, we'd only be responsible for about $11,000 if we were to be awarded this grant. But we have to sit down, we have to have a plan. We're a year behind on replacing the apparatus. If it's something we want to discuss and go new, we're not looking at anything this year because everything takes about a year to manufacturer. So we'd be looking at next budget, but we have to sit down and have a plan. We need to discuss if we want to go new, used. Obviously, I have my opinions, but we probably should bring it up in a group.
Let's remember too that we're including plantations in this breakout session, please.
Correct. And so speaking of the plantations, when you look at a new purchase, the town of Rangeley itself is only responsible for 48%. That's 345,757. So I think we need to have a discussion to see how that's going to show up as a warrant this year and look at all of our options.
Okay, any questions before I say something? Okay, remember, Chief, that I think it's Rangeley Plantation has a different time frame for their town meeting than we do. I think
Okay.
they're going into May this year. I think that's what Scotty and Mr. Keefe said a few days ago. And the rest of them are in June. Just keep that.
Okay.
Okay.
I think if the board is willing, or a representative from the board, maybe we could sit down in a week or two with the town manager and really talk about what the best course is.
Well, we have one select board member that has deep roots in Rangeley Plantation. Might be a great, David, wake up, I'm talking about you.
Oh, I thought you was.
Okay.
So would you folks be willing if I coordinate with Joe, come up with a date and time, and we'll sit down?
Yeah, I'll go through Joe.
Okay. You okay with that, Joe? Okay.
Thank you. Well, listen, anything else in capital reserve or anything there?
Yeah, Steve, let's go to capital reserve. I think that finalizes capital purchases. Rebecca, did we get everything on that one?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to capital reserve, which is 86, page 86. And this will identify the amounts that I'm recommending that we place in each one of these reserves for this year. 50,000 for fire department, 75 for public works, 20 for police, 20 for solid waste. Let me get my ruler here so I can keep my place.
0 for general.
0 for general, 15,000 for technology, 50,000 for town park reserve, 25,000 for sewer reserve, 0 for airport reserve, 15,000 in cemetery reserve, 0 in downtown, and 8,000 in economic reserve. And that 8,000 is for a gateway concept for Depot Street. And that's what the capital reserve spreadsheet looks like.
Questions?
Yeah.
Rebecca?
I just wanted to add, people might wonder why police went up. Looking at the purchase of his vehicles and completely equipping it and getting, was it a MacBook? Is that what it's called, Mike?
Yes.
MacBook. To get that in there, so the costs have gone up. He's been asking for $15,000 every year since I've been here, I think. So that increased. The general reserve, we will have to put money into that. It's a discussion that the Board of Selectmen need to have. We are in union negotiations. So there'll be money that'll need to be put in there to cover whatever is agreed upon for the new contract. And then what Joe said earlier about the non-union increases. And I'm still waiting on the amounts for the downtown revitalization, if there's anything gonna go in there. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, Denise, Kyle, anybody, anything? No? Okay. Shelley, did I see your hand? No? No, okay. All right. Housekeeping, before we go any farther. Denise and Kyle, turn your mics on here. I need to be able to speak to you. The question I have for both of you is, do you want to have your own meeting to discuss these items, or do you want to combine it with the Board of Selectmen?
You have to ask Ethna too. She's on here.
Ethna, yes, thank you. Geez, I can't see that. Ethna, please turn yours on as well. Thank you for reminding me. Let me start with Denise. How do you want to do it?
Doesn't matter to me.
Kyle?
Doesn't matter to me either.
Ethna, would you be happy to do it in conjunction with the Board of Selectmen, or would you prefer your own meeting?
I think it's to the benefit to just do it in conjunction with, so that we have less meetings. I don't know about anyone else, but I don't have time for a whole lot of meetings.
Yeah, I agree with you. Thank you for saying that. And you have no idea how many days I've been sitting in this friggin' chair here. So, yeah, I agree with you. So with that being said, Joe, what's the recommendation for the next meeting? So we can get this thing rolling. We have a time frame based upon a calendar that was established. One day will have to be changed. Go ahead, Joe.
If people could meet next week, I would recommend that. Monday possibly, that if that's too soon, maybe Tuesday or Thursday. But I would shoot for Monday and see if people could do that.
I'm not available Monday.
Okay,
I can't
No.
do Tuesday.
okay. How about Thursday?
Well, wait a minute. We're not going to please everybody. We're just not going to. So, Joe, would you start with the calendar of what we have to have completed by when? And then we can work backwards.
Okay, so the select board needs to vote on a warrant by March 15th. My guess is that there may be some questions when you do get back together. So I would not go beyond next week for your next meeting. That would be my advice.
Okay, Denise,
So when are we gonna have the final numbers for everything?
we have to have the final number before the 27th. That's our first public hearing. So a few days before that, it has to go out, Shelley.
Okay.
What's the time frame, Rebecca, before the public hearing? 7 days?
You have to vote by March 15th for
March
the warrant.
Okay, there you go.
Final numbers are due by March 15th.
So I'm sorry, Denise, can you make it, Ethna, on Monday?
Yes.
Kyle?
I
Yep.
will,
Okay. Shelley, you're all right with Monday?
Yep.
All right, we're just gonna have to sally forth here, folks. I apologize, but Denise, everything will be made available to you either that night or whatever, as soon as we possibly can get it to you, okay?
what time are we gonna have it?
6 o'clock Monday.
Okay. I should be back by then, I think,
Wonderful.
but I'll try.
Yes.
Can't guarantee.
No, listen, we all have lives we gotta lead. I understand. All right, let's get it out there for Monday. And anything else, Joe?
That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
All right,
I got one for you, Steve.
go ahead, David.
If it passes roughly what we got here, what would the taxes be? Up, down? I mean, just ballpark. Anybody have any ideas?
Well, we can't answer that question tonight because we've got to get through our process, what we're gonna, what we're not. And then Rebecca will be able to give you an estimated increase, stay the same, et cetera, et cetera. We're gonna have a lot of those questions relative to mill rate, taxation, and so on. Okay, Dave?
Yep.
Okay, Shelley?
So Joe, could you do me a favor? I was asking, if the town could apply for PPP loans, and they said no. But there's state funding that's out there that's available in regards to COVID. and maybe see if there's anything that we can do about the laptops, the phones and things like that, because these are things that we are needing now because of COVID, where we didn't necessarily need them before.
I can look into that.
Thank you, Shelley.
I might be able to answer some of that.
Go ahead.
The town of Rangeley did apply for a CARES grant this past year, and we did stock up on some PPE. Laptops would not have been covered in that, but some of the things you see up at the front counter, like I don't know if you want to call it the sneeze guard, that was covered. One of the signs, one of the reader signs that Public Works bought was fully funded under that grant. There is communications that another CARES grant may come out under this new administration. We'll hear about it, and of course, we'll apply for it. There is also another CARES grant coming out for the airport to get some more equipment that we'll be looking at. So I have been trying to keep my eye out for as many of the COVID-related grants as possible.
Thank you, Chief.
And the other thing too is to check in to see if the tasers, there's grant money for the tasers for the PD.
Okay, I'll check. I'll talk with the chief about it, and then we'll look into it.
Shelley, you have connections with some of these funding streams, given your husband's position. Should Steve have any of this information, if he could share it with the chief, it would be helpful.
Yeah, I think that there was one part where he reached out to everybody, I think in Franklin County with COVID, with the gloves and the masks and stuff like that. And they were able to get a bunch of stuff, but I'm not sure. Did we participate in that? I don't know.
I don't know that either. But
I don't
I know that the Stone
Sometimes
Garden,
there are grants for that.
I know the Stone Garden program has been expanded. And there's an opportunity there. Maybe we can get some of these things we're looking for within that framework. We good for 6 o'clock Monday, everyone? Go home and have a life. Thank you.
Super job. Thanks.
Yeah, I need a motion to adjourn our meeting.
I'll make a
So
motion.
moved.
Need a second?
Second.
Shelley, moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
Have a good night.